So if you're learning Agile, Scrum, business analysis, or even product ownership, I know you probably heard of the terms sprint planning, writing user stories, retrospective, stand-up demos, all that good stuff. But a lot of people, they learn the Agile and the Scrum terms, but many do not understand how work actually moves from idea to a product that a customer could actually use. This is what this video is going to break down. Hi, I'm Nan Ross. I'm an Agile Product Delivery instructor and an AI consultant. On this channel, I teach how work moves from idea to production so you can build real delivery confidence, not just memorizing terms. Today, we're answering a foundational question. What is Agile Product Delivery? And we're going to keep it simple. So Agile product delivery is the process of taking an idea, understanding the problem, shaping the solution, building it in small increments, testing it, releasing it, and learning from feedback. So it's not just about running Scrum ceremonies, writing user stories, or even having a Jira board. It is about helping the right work move through the right steps so the team can deliver value to the customer. So Agile is a methodology, and there are teams that may use Kanban, Scrumban, SAFe, or even a hybrid model. But in this video, I'm going to be explaining the Scrum within Agile. Now, Scrum is the framework. Agile product delivery is the bigger delivery flow. Agile gives teams events, the roles, the artifacts, but it doesn't actually teach requirement gathering. It doesn't teach stakeholder analysis, process flow, acceptance criteria, test scenarios, release readiness. That is why people learn Scrum and they still feel lost when asked to break work into stories or clarify business rules or even identify risks. Agile product delivery fills that gap and it connects Agile principles to real delivery work. Now, in my coaching framework, I teach Agile product delivery through the lens of SDLC, which is Software Development Lifecycle. Different companies will use different names for these phases. So, for example, planning versus discovery versus intake. But the purpose is similar. Understand what needs to be done, why it matters, and how to move the work forward. Focus less on memorizing exact names and more on what happens in each phase. So the 7 phases are planning, requirements or analysis, design, development, testing, deployment, and maintenance, also known as feedback. So planning is not a one-size-fits-all. A brand new product usually would need more discovery, more stakeholder conversation, and earlier artifacts, and sometimes through what they call Sprint Zero. We're not going to get too much into that. I'll make a video for that one. But Sprint Zero is a short prep period to get clarity and setup before the sprint. It's not a long waterfall phase. A smaller system enhancement may only need just enough planning to clarify the changes, and that could be during backlog refinement or even during sprint planning, or even a quick stakeholders conversation. The goal is enough clarity to move forward without unnecessary confusion, rework, and risk. Now, the second phase is requirements or analysis. Now, this phase will actually include the stakeholders conversation. Also, current state and future state process reviews, business rules, functional and non-functional requirement, user and data needs, assumption, and also risk. For business analysts, this is a major area of contribution. For product owners, it actually shapes the backlog. And for Scrum Masters, it shows where the team needs better conversation or clearer decisions. The third phase is design, or also known as solution design. Now, in real delivery, design and development often don't both happen in the same sprint. Sometimes design work happens one sprint ahead. such as creating wireframes, reviewing workflows, confirming the business rules, and then development has enough clarity to build in the next sprint. That is not waterfall. It's just preparing the work so that development can actually move smoothly. Design is not about just making it look all pretty. It is about how the solution function and what needs to be true before development begins. Next, we have development. Now, development doesn't always mean that every design decision is finished first, especially for smaller piece of work where developers also make some design decision. So, personal example, as a developer, I actually had to design customer face documents, but also meant that I had to develop logic at the same time and then slice the work into smaller increments. So for example, in one sprint, I may have to design and develop, let's say for example, English version, a later sprint for Spanish. The development is about turning the agreed solution into something that works, connected to the business needs, requirements, and testing strategy. Now, testing happens in layers. Because most people, when they think of testing, they always talk about UAT. That's actually part of it. Developers, they do their own testing, which is called unit testing, on a smaller piece first. Then QA would test end to end, which means they make sure it meets the acceptance criteria, if make sure there's no defects, that it works across different roles, screens, and system. Then we have UAT, which means user acceptance testing. It's not an environment. It is the type of test done by the business users to confirm that the solution solves the problem. So by the time that work reaches UAT, development and QA testing should have already been done. UAT should focus on the business acceptance, not trying to find technical bugs. Then we have deployment, which is not only the final production push. Work may move through dev for the developers, QA for the software engineers or quality assurance team. Then we have staging, or also known as pre-deployment environment, is where UAT actually happens. And then it's production. Every company is different, right? Some have fewer environments. Regulated industries, such as me coming from fintech or maybe healthcare or even a government, often use more environments, which create a stronger delivery process because mistakes can get caught earlier. Now, deployment is connected to testing, validation, release readiness, communication, and risk reduction. Last, we have maintenance or feedback. Real users, real data, and real traffic can reveal issues testing that did not catch. So my personal experience is after documents would go live, I still had to monitor, which means I had to check generation, speed, error, or whether any type of dynamic fields populated correctly. But also documentation. At times I had to redact samples and then upload it to the company's knowledge base. Maintenance is not just about fixing problems, right? It is keeping the organization informed as well. Delivery does not stop at deployment. Now, organizations, they don't just need people who know Agile vocabulary. They need people who understand how to help work actually move. A certification will help you learn the language, but it doesn't automatically teach you how to operate inside of a real product team. Delivery literacy means that you understand the flow of work well enough to ask better questions, participate in better conversation, and help the team move forward. So whether you are a Scrum Master, PO, PM, or even a BA, or even transitioning into an Agile role. Now, a team can meet every single day and still be unclear. A JIRA board doesn't fix poor discovery or missing acceptance criteria. A user story is only useful when the team understands the problem, the user, and of course the expected outcome. Delivery is not about looking busy. It's about creating usable value. And it's not just the product owner's job. The Scrum Masters have to handle the flow and the facilitation. The BA will handle the clarity and analysis. The developers actually shapes the feasibility. And the QA, they validate the quality. And then of course, stakeholders, they confirm the priority. Agile product delivery is a team sport. So here's a simple example. A customer should be able to book appointments online. Now, it sounds clear and pretty simple, but there's a lot underneath. For example, who's booking? What types of appointments? Can you cancel? Can you reschedule? Do they get confirmation emails? Does the system checks availability? What happens if a slot is taken? Does the staff need to approve? The team shapes the work. Maybe the first release only will let the customer view available times and maybe submit a request. A later version will add automatic confirmation, reminders, rescheduling, and even calendar integration. So you don't have to build everything at once. Now, here's where AI fits in. So, AI can help brainstorm discovery questions, summarize stakeholder notes, draft user stories, create acceptance criteria, identify risk and assumption, generate test scenarios, organize backlog items. The list goes on and on and on, including improved documentation. But AI doesn't understand your company's politics, the priorities, the system, the constraints, or the people unless you provide that context. The goal is not to let AI think for you, it is to use it as a thinking partner so you can move work more clearly, quickly, and confidently. You need this if you are becoming a Scrum Master because understanding delivery will help you better support the team, remove blockers, and see where work is getting stuck. Now, you need this if you are a BA. Even though BAs is not considered a Scrum role, they are, you will see them within an Agile team, even a Scrum team. You need it as a BA because you can translate business needs into requirements. You need it as a PO because you can decide value, priority, and scope. You need it as a PM for connecting customer problems, business goals, strategies, and execution. And you need it if you transition it into tech because it gives you the language, structure, and confidence. So, what is Agile Product Delivery? It is the process of moving work from idea to production in a way that is collaborative, flexible, value driven, and focused on learning. It includes discovery, requirements, and also backlog refinement within those requirements, design, development, testing, deployment, and then maintenance or feedback. It helps teams avoid building the wrong thing, and it helps professionals understand how their roles fit into the bigger picture. When you understand the flow, you can ask better questions, you reduce confusion, and you support your team. And of course, you speak with more confidence in the interview and on the job. So if this helps you understand Agile Product Delivery more clearly, subscribe to the channel. I will be sharing more practical lessons on Agile, Scrum, business analysis, and product ownership, and as well as AI assisted delivery, user stories, backlog refinement, and how work really moves from idea to production. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.